where we can send you guys like Uber Eats or something.
Hey, yeah, where I sign up?
Um, hang on. It's only
That's probably
$10
later
a
in the slide.
person.
I think there's a link in the announcements for you looking for it. So we can repost it if we need to.
Nice, yes.
But, well, anyway, so hurry on up because we have stuff to do. There's a link now for signups. For those of you who haven't clicked it yet, please click it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's for SIGGRAPH. We don't have to head over now. I said 2:45.
Oh.
So you just kind of wait for people to start showing
Also,
in.
Louis, it's okay if can you mute yourself for a second? Yeah.
My mic is kind of noisy.
Yeah, it happens.
Sorry.
It's understandable.
I'll post the RSVP link again, so everybody can do that.
Okay.
And everybody has time to join SIGGRAPH if you haven't done that already. It's in
So
the
yeah,
chat and in the announcements.
this is the actual time and place. If you don't know already, just a quick reminder. It will be next weekend, and I'll have I'm doing a workshop the Wednesday before about how to make a first game for those of you who haven't done that before. It'll be very simple.
Oh yeah, how many people here are actually like completely new to game jams?
I guess if you're not comfortable with speaking, you can just like put
you just type like me in the meeting chat.
Or new to game jams.
Or put like a message somewhere.
Yeah.
Like in meeting chat.
No, raise your hand.
Yeah, or turn your webcam on and raise your hand.
Nothing.
Raise those hands. Rev up those fryers.
The sweet fryers. Anyways, okay, that's one person. Great.
Oh wow. Really?
Well,
everyone else has been to one before? Okay. Cool.
Well, I have a workshop for you. Yeah. It's basically for Unity people. It's the rollerball workshop. It's a rollerball tutorial, but a little different.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what it's based on.
What engine do you think you guys are gonna use? If you thought
Unity.
about it. Yeah.
Most definitely Unity. Good lord, why would anybody use anything that isn't Unity?
Unity.
I heard about. I've known some people who did some Love 2D stuff.
I don't. What even is that?
Is that the Lua one?
Just take a.
It's a Lua. Yeah, it's a Lua-based 2D engine.
No. Take DJ's GF2D and use that.
Hell yeah! Just spit in his eye.
About the game jam. Quick question.
Yeah.
Is there an engine restriction?
Absolutely
no.
So we're allowed to use any software for this?
Yeah, anything. There's hardly even a theme restriction.
Any technology you can think of to make a game, go for it.
You can code an assembly if you like.
Yeah, if
you
you
could,
really
if
want
you hate
to.
yourself. Which
anybody
technical.
Who's just joining, we have the link to attendance in the meeting chat. You just gotta click that, and it should do it automatically. And we have the link to SIGGRAPH, which is where we're going to be going at 2:45. We're gonna go into their general chat, and we're gonna present our meeting there. And there's a link to the Google Forms. That's RSVP for the game jam.
Yeah, but this also leads us into technical limitations and spec-related stuff, like art-wise.
Oh wait, we're gonna be going over all this once we actually get there.
And just skip this then?
No, you don't have to even use the PowerPoint. I just wanted to do those first 3 slides for the.
I see.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, we'll get into this later.
Yeah, this is all just talking about polygons and texture size.
Yeah, this is some basic, just some stuff for reference. We'll get more into it later.
Yeah, this is
It's a-
mostly for the designers we're going to be talking to in a bit. But it is useful information for you guys, like pixel art. Like, that's not
Yeah,
something you explicitly need a designer to do.
it's a quick little sample of things to come.
Hmm. And we're going to go over, like, etiquette when interacting with your counterparts, your majors, people
Yep.
who can do things you can't.
Yes. In the meantime, um, since we have some people, so someone did, what's Love 2D like actually? I haven't. I know some who did. I know it's like a source code kind of thing. Like you're modifying. It's not like a thing like Unity where it's like a visual. At least as far as I can tell. I might be completely wrong. I probably am. But I know it's you're tinkering around with more bits. That's what I think. At least what I remember of it.
I don't know
Yeah,
too much about it, but
that's
I've
what I
heard
thought. Lua is an interesting language. It's funny when when my friends were doing a Minecraft server, there's a mod called ComputerCraft, which is done in Lua. So it uses Lua for its scripting, and so I made these programs in the game for my computers for various purposes. I remember I copy pasted a quarry program to easily farm shit. That was interesting. But yeah, I would probably be using Unity. I probably won't be there that much though, because next week is a weird week. Yeah, he's an
If you're
interesting
going over
question.
engines, there's also Game Maker. That one's really
Game
easy
Maker's
to
pretty
use.
good.
That's
My
what
brother-
I was going to use Game Maker Studio 2. I highly recommend it to anyone who has spare buck.
Oh, I'm curious if anyone uses RPG Maker. I would be really
That as
excited
well.
if someone did that.
I used to use RPG Maker, but it doesn't have a lot of freedom. It's very
Yeah.
restrictive in what you can and can't do without importing script, and even then, it's hard to tell what they're doing.
I see.
It's easy to do like some basic world building and like a little bit of story.
Basically, all I used
The battle
was
engine's
a
pretty
prototype of the old
predetermined.
RPG I wanted to make.
Am I back? Can you
Yeah,
guys
you're
hear me?
back.
You're back.
Dude, I don't know why. Every single time during a meeting, my computer Windows restarted my computer.
Like the update?
Yeah.
Wow. That's just cursed. That's the cursed existence.
I think I turned updates off.
Bro.
Yeah.
This is why Linux is better.
Hacker.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I guess before we head over, any other thoughts on engine experience and like, since we're in the neighborhood of that conversation?
Yeah, I was gonna say about Love 2D. I know that Harvard CS50 has like a bunch of tutorials on how to use it correctly. So if you're interested in that, if you know Lua or you want to learn Lua, there's that.
One thing I will say about Game Maker Studio 2, or any game maker or software, is that they use their own language.
That is true.
Game Maker language, GML. It seems almost like a combination of Python and on Java, in a sense.
Mm.
Huh. Interesting.
But I think the newer Game Maker uses what's it called?
GML.
Like modular, like it's like kind of like blueprints where you connect things together.
Yeah, so there's visual scripting and
Visual scripting. There you go.
yeah.
So would that still be GML, or is it like a whole new?
It's still GML.
It's
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
still
called.
GML.
Yeah.
I actively use Game Maker Studio 2, and yeah, it's still GML.
It's all GML. It's like blueprints in Unreal, where it's like the blueprints are like a overlay, and behind it is all this C++ code.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's
know because
powered
I
by
haven't used
C.
much Unreal.
I used it once. Besides the game jam last year, I used it once during a summer camp. And I did this thing where if you touched a collider, the skybox would rotate 90 degrees.
Ew, that sounds awful.
So what would happen is that there'd be like this corridor of clouds just kind of being on the sides of the the walls of the environment. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that
that
does sound
feel
cool. I
like
was
another thing I
picturing the
need to
entire
do about
sky
Game
just
Maker,
like
though.
spinning around.
No, that would just suck.
Yeah, that'd make me
That's really
vomit.
Another thing I need to say about Game Maker though is that you can only make 2D games with it.
That's true. There's no
There's no 3D engine for it.
yeah.
So
I mean, you could, if you're crazy, you could try to force it to have 3D functionality by adding a third vector, like trying to create 3 vectors.
that could get really messy really fast.
Yeah, at that
Yes,
point it's not even Game Maker Studio.
Yeah.
No,
like
you're
custom
basically
engine.
converting it.
At that point.
Anyway, we should probably head over.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody's going to the SIGGRAPH Discord. I'm not sure
I mean,
exactly.
channel 1.
Yeah, that's
Right,
where people
which
are. I
one,
guess we'll
streaming
go
channel
there.
1?
Yeah.
Which one, streaming channel 1?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll all go to streaming channel 1.
Let's go.
All right, I'll hang back here and make sure everybody gets there safe.
Can you hold my hand while we go together?
Okay. All right. I'll hold
Okay,
on.
on 3.
All right, 1.
Right, 1, 2.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, it's IGDA. Y'all shut up. Is this where you guys usually meet? We only came in here because there were people in here already.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were guys presenting at 2:30 or 2:45, so then Kaylin told me. So I was like, this is fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
In the burning house. This is fine.
Yeah, honestly.
So are we waiting for other SIGGRAPH members?
They're attending another meeting, so whenever you guys are ready, if you want to wait a couple minutes just in case someone pops in, and then you guys can start. So.
Okay. Oh, hello, Nick.
Oh, hello.
Wait, they're attending another meeting?
What was that? Holy
So-
shit.
Sorry, I have severe Tourette syndrome and it makes me make those noises.
Oh shit. Alright, no, it's good. Sorry, man. It's alright.
It's okay. Not everyone most people don't know about it.
Yeah, I got you. Alright. Let's actually wait. Isn't the rest of SIGGRAPH supposed to be here?
They're at another meeting with Kevin something. His name is. They had to set up another meeting for something. So today we're just doing IGDA presentation here. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
So just me.
I guess we'll wait like a couple more minutes for more people to trickle in.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Alright. Just while fucking Maya is heating up. Just wait.
We were talking about engines earlier.
Yeah, you were talking about the superiority of Unreal Engine, I'm assuming?
No.
Those days are over.
Disgusting.
I don't, personally, I find Unreal superior. Just saying, that's just me. And you know,
I will say,
yeah, that's interesting how it's just you.
Well, okay, to be fair, when we took game architecture, there was this people who sat behind us who were taught by Satchel, and so they all knew Unreal way more than they knew Unity. But Bo was more comfortable teaching in Unity because he could actually help with those issues, unlike Unreal, which I don't think he could as much.
There's actually something that I was going to explain today when talking about importing things as a digital design student or as someone who is making assets that are animated. A specific, very highly specific aspect of Unreal and Unity that bothers me. There's one little tiny difference, and it all has to do with
Is it
blend
Z
shapes.
forward? Oh.
No, it's blend shapes. I don't care about the Z forward. The Z forward is fine.
Yeah.
It's all blend shapes. Blend shapes aren't natively supported by Unity or morph targets, whatever the fuck they're called. Everything different. Like they're called something different in every program, but they're a universal concept in character animation and deformation, where you have a source model and a target model, and you blend between them. Everything else supports it. Even Sketchfab supports it. for some reason, Unity doesn't inherently support blend shapes, and I don't know why, and it angers me so much. It's as an animator character man, the fact that this feature is missing is a severe hindrance on Unity, or at least innately. I think there are ways you can set it up, but you have to do it manually, and it's gross and stupid and terrible, and I hate it. So that is my grievance with Unity.
I don't even know what you're talking about. That's crazy.
Basically, he's talking about. Sorry.
what's up?
No, I was going to say, from what I understand, because I've done a little bit of importing animations, messing around. There's a thing in Unity where you can blend animations, but you have to set it up yourself because you have to set up the state machine to blend.
That's not quite what I'm talking about. It's an even more specific aspect of animation. I know what you're talking about, but that is a slightly different thing. This is literally just like, have you ever seen like an animator like scrub through like facial expressions on a character or something like that, like in like a 3D program, where like their face like kind of changes from like happy to sad or something like that, or their like eyelids go
presets
from
or-
open to close. Almost
I-
like they're
yeah.
like shapes that I'll demonstrate it in Maya later at some point when we're doing this shit, but it's essentially you're taking a shape of a character, like the transformations of all the vertices of a model, and essentially transforming them to match another model with the same number of verts. I don't know. I mean, I'll probably explain it in better detail later when I actually have a visual, but that's essentially it.
Okay, yeah.
Unreal supports it, Unity doesn't, and it bothers me. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Probably just start now then.
That's interesting.
Understandable.
Yeah, that's fine. I can explain it in more detail.
Yeah. Okay. So you can boot up the PowerPoint, Donovan.
Okay, let's continue where we left off over here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So again, RSVP. We already covered this.
Yeah.
So take it away.
All right. So since this theme is retro jam, is all based around like retro games, I figured we'd go over the specifications for like retro characters. My portion mainly focused on 3D, like PS1 and mostly N64. That is mostly for the digital designers, so you have a sense of like how many polygons you should be working with and like the texture size. And here are the specs for main characters in a couple N64 games. When the camera gets far enough away from Mario, he actually like he, like I guess more than halves. Like he gets like a third of his poly count, and he looks really funny. And since Banjo-Kazooie was like a later N64 game, they both have more polygons, probably closer to like 1,000. Like the both of them, and including like Banjo's backpack and Kazooie's legs that you see sometimes. You can go on to the next slide. Here's what the texture sheets look like for the characters, and each one of these is 32 by 32 pixels. Well, I mean the boxes, the little boxes are probably 16 by 16, and you'll see for Kazooie, weirdly enough, that she doesn't like her eye and her wing are her only textures, even though she kind of has a lot going on, which is pretty weird. But I guess what N64 characters use generally are like palettes, kind of like sprites, where like some things will actually be textured and everything else will be just like dictated by flat colors, and like that's what the well, it's labeled normal, but those aren't normal textures or anything. That's like the default Mario palette. And you can see there's like a lighter and darker version of each color. And I guess the N64 uses gradients a lot. I guess because it's not too great at shading, just to make the characters look not like candy, like flat colors. And actually, it works really well. The texture limit, like any given texture in the N64 has to be under 4 kilobytes, I think, which is like an insane limitation. Like, I don't think, aside from like text files, I don't think any file on your computer is under 4 kilobytes, especially picture. So, they really had to work with what they had. You can go on to the next slide. And you can see that with environments, especially. Um, this entire, like, the entire bomb battlefield in Mario 64 is only 2,352 polygons, which I don't even know.
Well, currently, for reference, the character that I'm actually going to be demonstrating exporting on actually has, let's see, 26,000 triangles, just about. So, just to give you an idea, that's one character.
Yeah, compared to this entire, like, environment, which is
And
insane.
that's actually that's on the low end for modern games. Like,
Mhm.
usually, like, a single character could be, like, upwards to, like, 100,000 triangles, like, in, like, a AAA game. Like, shit
Yeah.
gets fucking crazy.
Hmm. And you could see the texture sheet for the environment, and those textures were like as big as Mario's eyes, like, and they just kind of paste them wherever. Like, you could really tell there's that like brown kind of bacon looking texture, and that's like all over all the walls. It looks awful, but we didn't mind. Which is the craziest thing. The biggest texture in this entire sheet is a tree, which is actually made of 2 textures because I don't think it'd be able to fit on one. You can go
Wait,
on.
so the
Wait,
fence texture is just those two, or the cage texture is just those two little fucking bars that you see there
yeah,
in the
yeah.
center? That's
Mm.
good. That's funny.
It's messing with my OCD though, how it's off center.
Wait, what's up?
The bars, it's messing with my OCD how it's off center.
That's
Oh
probably
yeah,
so they
yeah. I mean, I assume it's just so it could tile.
yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
instead
Yeah,
of
if you
having
shift the bars just a little bit to the middle, or even to the right where it overlaps,
yeah.
that would be better for OCD anyway.
All right, all right. You
Yeah,
can go.
that's true. Actually, it would tile then there.
Here's a later N64 game, the
Whoa.
Ocarina of Time's Kakariko Village, and you can see the sprite sheet on the left.
That's nice.
And I pointed out a couple notable textures. That whole mountain is just a 32 by 32 pixel texture, and it seems like the windows are actually way more intensive. The biggest things on the sprite sheet, like the owl statue, and like the barn door, they max out at 128 pixels. So the owls, yeah, both of them are 100 or 64 by 128, which is neat. I guess that's the limit because I haven't seen anything higher than that. And we'll link resources in the IGDA chat so you could check like polycats and like ripped textures for N64 games if you want to investigate more on your own.
Yeah, there's also a couple of videos where they show how to make a modern character model. You take one and you just kind of make it look like it's from a N64 or PS1 era. So we'll probably post those too.
Yeah. We'll post a lot of stuff right after this meeting. And we're also recording this if you miss anything. Or if you have to leave early or whatever. Alright, you can go on. I think this is Jordan's part.
Yeah, pixel art, where you make art with pixels. I am not. Just a disclaimer: I'm not really a even approaching an expert on pixel art, so yeah, keep that in mind. But basically, from the eras that we're talking about, most things were either 8-bit or 16-bit when it came to sprites, because of the limitations of the hardware. During the actual N64 PS1 era, there weren't very many pixel art games, at least on those consoles. They were kind of more for handheld at the time. But they're still very popular today among indie devs, like Celeste and stuff like that.
Don't forget Undertale.
Yeah, and Undertale, Stardew Valley, that stuff. Can you go to the next slide?
Also, Bo would know a lot more about pixel art, given that he's making a pixel art game.
Yeah, absolutely. So link over there
Click on
is
them.
an example of an 8-bit sprite. That's Sonic from Sonic 2, which is a game that came out in I think '92. So around that time, they were using more 16-bit, and that sprite is from it's Ruby from Blaze Blue Cross Tag. That's from I think 2018, and that's an HD sprite. So obviously, it has so many pixels in it that you can't really count them by hand. Um, I don't know if we're going to be allowing stuff like that, but it would be pretty hard to make by yourself anyway. So
Yeah, if you can make it, we'll accept it. I mean, it's not like the theme is even that strict, but yeah, go on, Jordan.
all right. Uh, yeah, so 8-bit's the most simple, and it just gets more complicated with more detail as you go up. There's not really any limitations on, I think, sizes. Like you can do 32 by 32 pixels or 16 by 16 pixels if you want. Um, but now I'm just going to talk more about the type of software you can use to make pixel art. So these, I'd say, would be the most popular form software to make pixel art. So some people use Photoshop and Sprite, which I personally use, and
Yeah, it's amazing.
yeah, it's very good. It's made specifically for pixel art. So personally, I think that it offers a lot more flexibility than other types of software. Um, you typically costs I think between $10 and $15, but if you compile it yourself from the website, then you can use it for free. I think also NJIT is giving its students right now free Photoshop for like licenses. I don't know how long they last, but I've been using it and it hasn't given me any issues so far. There's also Pixel Edit, which I don't know I don't know a lot about it, but I know that it is also it's comparable to Sprite. Um, if you're looking for something that's just completely free, there's GIMP, there's Krita, and if you are dangerous enough, there's MS Paint for you. You know.
Also, I think feel like I should know is that at Game Maker Studio 2 has its own pixel art software built in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's all good. Anything that anybody feels like they want to add, just go for it.
Shall I move next slide?
Yeah. So in the way of resources for pixel art and getting started, these are just 3 YouTube channels that I think are pretty informative. So Mortmort is probably the most popular pixel artist on YouTube. He makes a ton of Sprite tutorials and other type of just tutorials on how to make a sprite look good, whether you want to make it look more cartoony or look more like Mortal Kombat type sprites. He'll talk about that. Then there's Brandon James Greer. He talks about different workflows for making pixel art. So like if you want to start with and he talks a lot about animations too. So if you want to learn how to animate pixel art, I'd watch him. And then there's Pixel Pete, who uses Pixel Edit and GIMP. So if you're interested in those, then I would go to him. And then this is just a Gamus Neutral tutorial, and it's also basically in GIMP, but it's very informative and it's very detailed. So if you want to learn how to make pixel art in GIMP, I recommend that.
Okay. When you're approaching a digital designer for your game, it's kind of tough because you don't really know like too much about what they do. You just know that they make models and you need models. So here's like a sort of general like etiquette guideline for how you should really approach them and like communicate your ideas. Well, one, you got to be respectful for their time and their profession, I guess, their skill set, because you can't expect them to like drop everything they're doing and work in your game, yada yada, all that garbage. Like like a lot goes into that, and you should really respect that. And you have to be you make sure you have like articulate what you need exactly from them, because any sort of wasted time is gonna be bad for both of you, because you might not get what you want, and they might not be able to go back and fix it, or they might not even be willing to change it. Uh, it's always good to know how your engine works, like what exactly you need for animations. I have good resources for Unreal and Unity on stuff like that. I know Unreal uses like a sort of animation kind of hierarchy. Like it'll be like start, then like the looping part of the animation, and when it like ends, and like you have to know like what you want for each section, and like what it can transition to after that. Like jumping goes to like jumping loop, which is pretty much falling, and then landing, which would be the jumping end, and then that goes back to idle or running, or however your game is structured. And since this is like a lot of your first like time interacting with people that like digital designers, don't be afraid to like, I don't know, look like a moron. Like you don't really know how they work. You're just doing your best to communicate your ideas, and you'll, never understand them if you don't even try. So approaching them for like a small project like this, like something that's completely for fun, shouldn't have any like, you shouldn't be stressing out about it. Uh, and then now it's Nick's turn to talk about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can change
So
the slide, Donovan. Not that it really matters too much.
yeah. So I don't really have slides for this, but I'm going to share my screen real quick. Show a quick demonstration. All right. Actually, how many people here have worked with like character models, like 3D, like skeletal mesh based character models of any sort? Like, do we have any? Because this is essentially for you. This is directed towards you. Um, if not, then this might be a little bit more complicated for you to understand. But let me just share my screen real quick. All right. So what I have here is a character model. This is actually not my character model. This is my rig, my animations, but the model was made by the wonderful and beautiful Fabricio, good friend of mine, good man. So anyway, so we have a character model here, right? We got a guy. Let's just put on the textures and make it a little prettier. Let me just hide this thing too. This is gross. So we have essentially a joint-based model here, X-ray joints, where essentially the geometry, the outlining geometry is being deformed by the joints, and the joints are being controlled by these controls. These controls won't matter at all in your engine of choice. But essentially, this is assuming that you already have this all set up, right? So you have like a character with with all this stuff here, which again, if you have done character stuff before, you will be familiar with this. So you have the T-pose, you have your animations, and you're like, oh, okay, so I want to bring this into the game engine. How do I do that? Well, it's just a simple process of knowing what to select and what can be exported. So things that can be generally exported, obviously geometry, as long as your geometry isn't being, like deformed by anything outside of joints. Like the skeleton, like you'll be able to see the skeleton in your engine of choice outside of the constraints. But anything that's like a bone or something like that, you'll be able to see. And blend shapes, which I was mentioning earlier. So essentially, shapes are a way of like blending between, again, like one state to another. I don't know how useful it'll be specifically for like an N64 style character, but essentially, if you see here, and I'll actually show what these are doing. So this character has a specific control where he can actually blink. This blink control is being driven by this shape interpolating this shape and it's standard like T-pose here and this shape. So it's almost like this is just slight, like this is the same model essentially. It has the same everything minus this, because these are two separate models here. But this top here and this, we're going to ignore the bottom. This is being blended into this essentially when we move this control. And again, I won't really explain how that is set up, because again, this is just, that's way more complex than we have time for. But if you do have questions about that or setting of 3D characters or anything like that, you can ask me outside of this meeting thing, and all that shit. So anyway, we have this character, and we want to bring him into Unreal, and we want to include the shapes because the shapes are important for his blinking. So we select the shapes, we select the body, and the other whatever other meshes are bound to the joints, and then all the joints. Actually, no, not all of them, just the root. We don't actually have to select everything else because it'll export everything else that is associated with that root. I personally just put everything into a group called export group, and then just export that because it's easiest. So we're going to hit file. We're going to export selection. We're exporting as an FBX. FBX is the standard file, like standard 3D file for any sort of 3D game engine nonsense. Or if you're bringing it into another program, that's also standard. You may have heard of things like OBJ and all that other crap, but OBJ is like, doesn't support animation or rigs, so it's gross. I don't like it. It's only okay for like sculpts. But yeah, so when we're initially exporting, we're not gonna usually, and this is a very Maya specific thing, like this particular window, but FBX usually has some pretty universal settings here. So you're pretty much always going to see like an animation, like a geometry setting here. When you're exporting just the geometry and the rigs, like the T-pose, this step isn't actually necessary for Unity, but it is Unity if it is necessary if you're doing it for Unreal. So let's just, I actually already exported this guy, but let me just paste this over here. Yeah, so I already have him here as here Magar skeletal, so I don't need to export him again. But just so you know the settings, I turned off the animation settings, and a few other things. Actually, yeah, no, everything else pretty much here is good by default, except for animation, which I turned off. So then you export and whatever the hell. And then if you want your other animations, you can, again, this is in a separate window. You can't really see it, but I'm essentially turning these tracks on and off, which is something more advanced that I won't get into unless you're a digital designer interested in the character design workflow. In that case, you can talk to me outside of this. But yeah, so then I've turned this animation on. It's like, okay, I want to export this. So again, you have everything, the same thing selected, file, export. And then here we just make sure to check animation. Believe you don't actually have to specify. I mean, it's over here. There's usually like a setting like that's like you want skins, like joint skins and the blend shapes. But yeah, so bake animation. So this animation actually spans frame 0 to frame 96, I think, or something like that. So 96. And again, I'm not going to export it because I already exported it as an FBX before. But just so you get an idea, you're baking the animation upon export. So you did that, great, cool. And now we open up our engine of choice. It doesn't have to be Unreal Engine; it just happens to be my choice. You open up Unreal, you have your FBXs here, and both Unreal and Unity have this sort of content browser thing on the bottom. So for Unreal specifically, you want to take the skeletal first, like the T-pose mesh that we exported earlier, and you want to import it just like here, like so. Most of these settings are specifically specific to Unreal Engine, so they won't really be relevant to a lot of you Unity folks. But yeah, so then we'll just import and it should, plop in there nice and pretty when it does. Oh, and it usually doesn't come with textures, but I think it did this time because it wanted to, which is cool. Sometimes that happens. I think it might have been just one of the import settings. But yeah, so it'll be in there.
Oh wait, can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
So usually this part, well, I don't know. It depends. Sometimes this part is handled by the actual digital designer, and sometimes this part is handled by the programmer. So this is kind of
Mhm.
like hybrid
Yeah,
territory.
yeah. So this is sort of a mix. I'm just gonna.
So like both parties should be able to know how to do like importing assets.
Mm-hmm.
Just so like if you're just kind of spacing out as a programmer, you can pay attention again now, since you're not going to be like actually. Well, I mean, unless you actually decide to do. I'm interrupting. Let me just leave.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I just noticed that our morph targets were missing. This is a different project file from the project file that this guy was actually imported into, so the import settings might be a little bit different. Huh. All right. Well, regardless, it's not really relevant. So after we import our, our skeletal, whatever the hell, import, we can then import our animations, which for you Unity folk, again, this is the part that's actually going to be a big deal. Again, you're just taking the animation. So the one that I had exported was idle. So we'll take that, import it. And because I had the mesh selected as well, it also includes a mesh. So it's like you want to import the mesh too. You don't need to because you already have a mesh in there, which is the skeletal mesh. Again, for Unity, this isn't relevant, but if you're doing Unreal, it will be. So we import, and there you go. Look at that. Look at that. He's moving. He's alive. He's beautiful. Except his morph targets aren't working, but that's okay. That's fine. Everything's fine. But yeah, so that's basically a little brief introduction to just importing animated assets, or just assets in general. Honestly, even if it's a static asset, although if it is a static asset, it's not going to give you all those options. You don't need to import like a skeletal mesh or anything like that. It's way more straightforward. It'll just be a straight up FBX, and then you just select the geometry, export, and then import into whatever your game engine is. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And if you're a programmer, you should be like familiar with assigning materials and stuff.
Oh yeah. Are we going to go over assigning materials? Because that's a very materials is a very engine specific thing. Like it would be very different for Unity than it would be for Unreal.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. So we can just
Yeah.
leave it off here unless anybody really wants to see Nick assign the materials. I know you have a dentist appointment soon.
Yeah, I can. Oh yeah, I do. At 4:00. But yeah, so I can if you want, but it's like, I mean, it's mostly just going to be specific to your engine, and there's lots of different tutorials out there for material assignments and things like that. It's just I've always found it's very difficult to find tutorials specifically for like exporting animated geometry like in this fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's weird because people usually either use the game exporter or whatever the fuck else, or like everyone has their own weird way of doing it.
Or
And I
they
found
just
this
like
is
animate an engine.
oh god, no, ew, gross.
I've seen a couple of those.
I don't like that. That's ugly. But yeah, so that's the gist of it really. Is we're selecting I think the most important takeaways here is the type of geometry that can be animated and how it can be animated. So and then how you get it out of whatever and again, a lot of these principles are pretty universal throughout different 3D software packages. So if you use like Cinema 4D or Blender or something like that, this also applies, just a little bit differently. The settings are a little bit different.
Right.
But it's essentially the same concept where you're taking a mesh that's being deformed by joints and blend shapes and bringing it into your game engine. And that's pretty much it.
So does anybody have any questions about that? I mean, if the DD stuff was like all French to you, that's all
yeah.
right,
That was a lot of concepts being thrown at you guys at once, and also a lot of things that you probably didn't see before.
Right.
again, most of this stuff is relevant to people who have worked. And this is me going under the assumption that you've worked with some sort of basic character animation modeling, or anything like that, or rigging before.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, that first
Yeah.
part was mostly for the DDs, but like the actual
Yeah.
importations mostly for the IT crowd, or
Mhm.
not IT programmers. But yeah, still, is there any questions?
Doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like anything.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Oh yeah, perfect.
That means I explained everything perfectly.
Yeah, good job,
Other
Nick.
than that, everyone's so lost that they don't know what to ask.
Yeah. No, I threw a lot at you, but again,
Whenever I try to explain something, it usually ends up the latter.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That just comes with the territory. Yeah, I guess.
My brother is a math major, so it's mutual between me and him.
I guess
That's
that
pretty
means we're
great.
done here.
Yeah.
We will post we'll post a link to our Discord, IGDA Discord. We'll also post the meeting for today in case you missed it, or only got like a certain portion of it. And back at IGDA, we'll post all of the relevant resources in our resources channel, like Unreal and Unity, like model implementation, like some sprite, like the stuff Jordan was going over, and some other cool knickknacks.
Oh, there's my morph target setting. Whoops. It's been so long since I've had to actually check that box because I always have it checked by default that
Right.
I lost it. I found it. All right, cool. So the eyes do work. All right, awesome.
Oh, great.
Never mind.
Perfect. A
Wow.
happy ending.
Yep, that's great.
All right. Well, we said our piece. Everybody's dismissed. Thank you all for
Okay.
coming out. I really appreciate it.
Remember, next weekend is the actual jam.
Mhm.
Wednesday, we're gonna do a how to make a first game.
Yeah, not 9 days.
I'm gonna host that.
Or 10 days.
Awesome.
I'm gonna be doing it in Unity. So if you want to follow along, I recommend doing that. If you just want to watch, fair. And that is it. Really?
Yeah, that's it.
Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Friday,
Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
And again, if you guys want to like begin learning how to do all that ridiculous fucking crap I just explained, it would definitely you can ask me, you can DM me, you can ping me in this channel because I usually look at Discord sometimes.
Sweet.
Yeah. So if you're interested in like doing a 3D style like N64 looking game, that should be pretty simple.
Even like
given
basic stuff like objects and scenery, like
Oh yeah, absolutely.
not
Yeah,
even too
objects
hard.
and scenery is super easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's literally just like slapping some triangles together and export as FBX. There you go. Done. Easy. Simple.
Characters are like make me physically ill, but like I could do like I could make the chum bucket if I try my
I
hardest.
find them personally very simple, Julian. So I think you're just dumb.
Yeah,
personally.
yeah. Sorry, guys. Disclaimer: I'm really dumb.
Yeah. So thank you guys for coming out and listening to us ramble about things.
Some things to look forward to. I'm going to mention post-processing once and never talk about it. Because it's actually really cool, but I don't think it will be in the scope of the workshop. I will also mention shaders a little bit because I actually think they're useful to at least be aware of. But you probably won't, if you're new, you'll probably be more worrying about stuff like, hey, how does collision work? How do I make a box and get that box to move? That will be covered next
How
week.
do I make entire game?
How do you make entire game?
Yeah, Make a game.
Also,
at least
for,
you're not making a game from scratch. Which, if you like doing that, take IT for whatever the Vulkan and 2D programming with DJ.
Hey, can I make a game engine real quick?
Just real quick, just
Yeah,
like
easy,
snap my
easy.
fingers and there it is.
Can I make a game in Scratch?
Yeah.
MIT.
Hell yeah! What a throwback.
Perfect.
I mean, if you do it,
For anyone who does not know where to go to sign up for the game jam, just go to the announcements channel in the IGDA Discord.
yeah. If you join the just Discord, we're gonna be spamming it, so you won't miss it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
If you want the RSVP for the game jam, that's how we're gonna handle food. Food's kind of a shaky subject. I think the school or Senate or somebody's doing like Uber Eats, but you can only do like $10 a person. We're still trying to figure it out, but
Does that include delivery?
I do not know.
I have no idea.
Because delivery is like $12.
I know. It seems like such a like.
And then you got a tip.
Yeah, I know.
So it's sort of like $40 just to order McChicken.
Right. Yeah. I guess I don't know. We'll really look into it, but that might be the only option going forward. We'll let you guys know though.
It's what it
Definitely
is.
a week before. Oh wait, that's like tomorrow. We'll let you know next Wednesday for sure. Anyway, we're done. We're done here. We're dismissed.
We're pretty done. This is now chill out time. I'm gonna stop sharing. 'Cause we have
Now
nothing
I
else.
don't have to